Well, good morning. It's great to see you. Welcome back to the shop, where this morning we're going to be replacing the garbage disposal in the kitchen sink. This is a relatively simple swap out that anybody can do with just a few tools. We're going to need a couple of screwdrivers, some channel locks, some plumber's tape, and some plumber's putty, and that's just about it. Now, why would you want to do something like this? Well, this unit costs less than $100 at a big box store, and if I was to have a plumber come out and install it, they're going to charge anywhere between, $100, maybe $150, maybe up to $200 to install it. And, that's not a bad price. That's a fair price to have, a trained plumber come out and do their job. They've got to travel out here. Their time is worth something. I'm not begrudging them that fee at all. But this is one of those jobs where it's really just not that hard to do. It's kind of like, hiring an electrician to come out and replace a light bulb. It really is almost that simple. So let's get inside and get going on this. So the very first thing you're going to want to do is, give yourself some room to work. Clear out underneath the sink, take everything out, set it aside. And once you've done that, there's a couple things to check before you go to the expense and the trouble of replacing a unit that, really might not be broken. So let me give you a couple of ideas of some things to check to make sure that you're not going to replace a unit that doesn't really need to be replaced. So the very first thing that I think of when something like this happens is perhaps the unit tripped a breaker. So I go down to my electrical panel and I take a look at where the disposal is. Here it says that the disposal is in the number 12 spot. So I go up here and I look at number 12. The breaker does not look like it's been tripped. If it did look like it was tripped, it would be kind of halfway out here. But I'm going to flip it anyhow. I've already done that. I know that's not the case, but that's how you do that. And some people would say, listen, if you're going to, work on your disposal and replace it, you'd want to disconnect that anyhow. But I want to show you a couple things upstairs that you can do at the point of the disposal, and we're going to need some power for that. So I'm going to leave that on for right now, and let's head back upstairs. Another simple way to check to see if there's power is to simply plug something else in. In this case, I'm going to plug this trouble light in. So I'm going to unplug this. I'm going to plug this in. And you can see that the light goes on. So I know the unit's getting power. Under most disposals is a reset button, and you can just push that reset button. And you can hear that it's trying to work, but it's not working. It's just buzzing. It just cut off again. So it's not working. Something is broken inside it, or something is really stuck in there. Now, sometimes something is stuck in there and there's a way to maybe try to get that loose, and I'll show you that next. Okay, so sometimes a seed or a piece of small glass or a small piece of metal or a bone or maybe even a utensil gets stuck and kind of ground up in the gears of this, and when that happens, the gears get stuck and there's just not enough power to power through that. So there's a manual bypass, if you will. You take an Allen wrench that fits right here in the center of most of these, and it just goes right up to the motor, and you can see if you can turn this. And I can turn it, so it's turning. It kind of leads me to believe that that's not the problem, because I can turn it. I've also reset this screw, so I'm going to plug it in one more time and see if it works. And it doesn't, and it's really struggling. So I'm going to unplug it, and I don't think that this is something that is worth repairing. It's just simply easy enough to pull one of these out and put another one in. So let's start taking this unit out here. We start loosening things up here. We need to undo a couple of the hoses here. So this is your hose that goes for the dishwasher. That needs to be taken out, and this piece here is the drain plug for the sink. So I'm going to loosen that up if I can. And we're going to simply just take that out. Okay, move that out of the way. I'm going to loosen this clamp so that we can slide out the drain for the dishwasher. This comes from the dishwasher and it drains into the disposal. look at that grody stuff. And now we're ready to lower this whole unit. These old units, they're heavy. They are not light. And when we loosen up that collar up there, which I'm going to show you how to do in a minute, this is going to want to drop, and it's not going to be easy to catch. So I've got this jack out of the trunk of my car, and I'm just going to set it up underneath there. You don't necessarily need to use a jack. You can use pots, some pans to prop these up. Just be aware that when we loosen this up, there might be some water that comes down. So don't put anything in here that you don't want to get wet. All right, so to loosen this up, you simply take one of your screwdrivers and you put it in one of these. There's two of them. There's one on this side and one on this side. There might even be one on the back. So you just take that and you just turn it counterclockwise like that till it loosens up and comes off. And now it's ready to come down. And all I do is just lower this. You see that? See the units coming down? It's that simple, folks. That's how you get one of these out of here. I'm just going to lower this until I've got good clearance, and then I'm just going to pull it out. Well, there you have it, folks. That was simple enough to take out, and I'm telling you, putting the new one in isn't going to be a whole lot more difficult than that. It's actually probably going to be a little easier because the newer units are a lot lighter. This is a beast. Well, I don't know if you can see that, but as luck would have it, the collar for the new unit, which is this one here, as you can see, it's a lot smaller than the other one, and the collar for the old unit are exactly the same, which means that I could take this unit and attach it right up into that. In fact, I might do that just to show you that I can. So as you can see, this collar fits just fine on the rest of the piece that's coming from the sink. So there's no real reason to replace that piece, but I'm going to do it anyhow for a couple reasons. Number one, I've got the new pieces, and number two, I just want to show you how the whole thing is done. But you don't have to. If you happen to luck out like I did and have two pieces that still fit together, the old and the new, feel free. But let me show you how to take that top piece out and how to install the new one, and then we've got some prep work to do on this one down here before we're ready to install it anyhow. So let's get going with that. So in order to take this collar out, we just simply loosen these screws here. There's 3 of them. And the rest of this piece will come out, and then there'll be the piece in the sink that we're probably going to have to knock out because it's been stuck there for probably 20 years. So we're just going to loosen this up. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's a little ring in there, and we need to get that ring out before we can pull the rest of this out. So I just move it up here and just a little retaining ring that's holding that piece in. It comes out, and the rest of this just slides down. And then this piece just pushes up into the sink. We're going to clean all this dried up plumber's putty off so we get a good seal with the new putty that we're going to be putting in. Same thing with the top side. Sears Kenmore was a great brand in the day, and I don't know about your household, but in mine growing up, the stove was a Kenmore, the fridge was a Kenmore, the washing machine was a Kenmore. Everything was Sears Kenmore because that was the mark of quality. But sadly, it's long gone. Okay, we're just going to take our screwdriver, and we're just going to sort of chisel this stuff off here. It's on there pretty easy. It comes right out. It's all dried up, and once that seal is broken, we can't reuse it. We have to put new plumber's putty in. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. I'm going to just take some Scotch-Brite, just a Scotch-Brite pad from some of the supplies that we took out from underneath the sink. It's kind of handy to have it right here. Go ahead and rough that up as much as you can. Take that, push the rest of it through the hole so I can go laying it down there. looks pretty good. All right, let's go get the bottom side. All right, it's the same story on the bottom side. We just kind of scrape this stuff off. Try not to get this stuff in your hair or your eyes. But it's pretty brittle. It comes off pretty quickly. We're just trying to get the heavy stuff off, and then we'll use the Scotch-Brite pad to really clean it up good. The interesting thing is that you don't really need this plumber's putty on the bottom. It doesn't do anything on the bottom, so I don't know why anybody put it down here. When we install the dew piece, we're not going to put putty on the bottom here. You'll see that in a minute. You know, if water has gotten to this point underneath the sink, you've got a problem, and a little bit of plumber's putty isn't going to help. The idea is to keep the water from getting to this point. All right, let's use this Scotch-Brite. That's pretty good. All right, now let's go put some fresh plumber's putty up top and put the collar in the new collar in the top. Same deal with this. We want to loosen up these screws. And then this ring is going to need to come out. We find out where it's right there. Stick a screwdriver underneath it. Pop it out. Okay, after this comes out, just like that. And that goes in just like that. But first we're gonna have to put some putty in there, so let's get going with that. All right, the new collar comes with a little bit of a gasket here, and you know, there's a little bit of a bevel here. It'll probably work, but I feel more comfortable with the plumber's putty. But if you don't have any and you picked one of these type of units up that has a gasket, you know, feel free to give it a shot. I think it'll be fine, but I've got the plumber's putty. I think that's probably a better long-term solution anyhow. If you're not familiar with what plumber's putty is, it's kind of like Play-Doh. It's kind of like a waterproof Play-Doh, and it forms its own gasket, forms its own seal. So you sort of knead it up in your hands like I'm doing here, just like you would Play-Doh. Get it all warm. The warmer it gets, the more pliable it gets. Just the heat from your hand will make it, you know, fairly pliable. And you know, remember when you were a kid playing with Play-Doh and you made a snake? Well, that's what we're going to do here. We're going to put way too much on. That's fine. We'll get rid of the excess. Then we're going to take that snake that we've made, that snake made of plumber's putty, and we're going to just put it around this ring here, just like this. And then we're going to take this collar and we're going to place it down firmly, push it in as much as we can. You don't want to move it like this. You don't want to push it in and twist it. You just want to push it straight down. We're going to draw this in and squeeze this plumber's putty out and make a good seal from underneath when we tighten up those screws. So let's go ahead and get that done. All right, first we put this piece up there like that. Then we put this piece in. Again, screws facing down here. And then this retaining ring. Remember that retaining ring we had to take out? All right, now that ring is in place, we're going to tighten up these screws. You'll see the more we torque these screws down, the more that plumber's putty up top will start squeezing out until there's just a small little bit between it and the sink. That will act as a great seal. We're just going to keep on tightening this until we can't tighten it anymore. But you can see it's exactly the same kind of collar that was on the old one. It's getting pretty tight now. I think that's about it. All right. What'd I tell you? All that plumber's putty just squeezed out of there, except for a real small bit. We're going to get rid of this excess. And guess what? We're going to put it back in here so we can reuse it some other time. Put the top on that and it'll stay pliable for some time to come. All right, now we're at a point where we can start preparing the replacement disposal to be installed. These pieces came with the unit, as most would have, and we simply just put these in place. It's just easier to do it up here at the sink on the top of the counter versus underneath the sink laying on my back trying to reach up in a tight space. So I'll do as much as I can up here. There's that piece. And the other thing, remember the drain plug for the dishwasher. It's got a little plug in it that we've got to pop out. Okay. And the reason that plug is in there is that, you know, some people don't have a dishwasher, but they have a disposal. And so if you've got this hole here without a dishwasher hose attached to it, it's going to leak from that. So we want to take that out so we can accommodate our dishwasher, but that's what that's for. So that's out of the way, and we're ready to install this. All right, I'm going to put this in here first, just so that it's there. And then we can move this up, because this will move around for us. Okay, and there we go. There we go, we just tighten that up. And I'm not going to tighten that real tight just yet. I'm going to make sure that we've got all these fittings and they fit in there real good before I tighten that in place. I want to be able to move this side to side if I need to. The first thing I'm going to do is put this in place here, tighten that drain plug down, or that drain pipe down. All right, and then I'm going to put this in place, bring this over. Let's see if I can't just pinch it with my fingers. Yep. All right. I think we're good there. All right, I'm going to get the screwdriver and just kind of crank that a little bit of maybe an eighth of a turn or a little less, just to make sure that it's on there good and tight. Then we'll plug this in and see how she works. That's pretty tight. I don't want to bend that too much. That's on there good. All right, we'll plug it in and see how it behaves. Oh, look, got some plastic on there. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, and I'll turn the switch on and we'll see what we get. All right, we got a couple pieces to put in here. This is just to keep stuff from splashing back up to us. And then obviously if we want to plug the sink, there's our sink plug. We're not going to use that right now, so we'll put that aside. Turn the water on and see what we get. Well, it seems like we have the garbage disposal that is working. We check for leaks. All right. Okay, that looks all good. I think we can call that a successful installation. We're back out here in the shop after getting the kitchen all cleaned up and the tools all put away, and there's really nothing left to do but, you know, again, call that a job well done. and say goodbye to our old friend, the old Kenmore disposal. Listen, if you take anything away from this, I hope it's that, before you call the plumber and spend a lot of money, take a second and make sure the unit's getting power, make sure that the reset button doesn't need to be pressed. The simple fixes first, and then ask yourself whether or not it makes sense to have a plumber, or perhaps it's something that you can do yourself. I'm glad that I took the time to take a look and do those things. I really appreciate you sticking with me through this little replacement process. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned a few things, and as always, I know that I did. In the meantime, we will continue to do what we do, and we hope to see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.